she's probably in her 60s, early 70s at the most. And she was going to town on this salad, or whatever she was eating. It looked like a salad. I mean, she was scarfing this stuff down like it was the best damn thing since manna from heaven. Well, anyway, I'm thinking, first of all, if this were alcohol, she would be plastered drunk by now. And second of all, and I realized that it was probably from a local feed, CNN couldn't help it. But I have a problem with news crews that go out and film people eating. I don't know, it just bothers me. I don't like to watch myself eat, and I guess if I paid more attention, like watching myself eat, sit in front of a mirror and eat, I probably wouldn't pig out as much as I do. But it's a pet peeve of mine to film people eating. Now I don't have a problem with it in TV shows or movies necessarily. It moves the story along. But as far as just everyday people, news events or things of that nature, I don't care to see it. Well, let's see what else is on my mind for today. Speaking of Friday, I wrote a silly joke about never cheating on my Facebook page. For those of you that are on my Facebook page probably saw it. Something to the effect was, I never cheat. I merely change the conditions of the test. Well, an old classmate of mine of sorts from college wrote a very derogatory remark regarding our president on my page. I admit I have political, I don't know how you say, antagonists or people that I don't like in politics or in public life, like Sarah Palin, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck. I don't agree with them. But I would never call them an asshole or a bitch, or pardon my language, or any of those other derogatory names. I'll poke fun at their character. I'll poke fun at their stance. But I will never poke fun at them. I will poke fun at things that you can change. But when you go calling the President of the United States an asshole, because my friend wrote something to the effect of, after my never cheating comment, I merely changed the conditions of the test, wrote something to the effect of something about that. What about that asshole in the White House, or something to that effect. I knew what he meant. You will not put that stuff on my page. If you want to do that on your own page, go right ahead. I will not stop you. I might criticize it, but I will not stop you. But you will not put that crap on my page, and that is final. I will block it, and if possible, and if necessary, I will delete you from my Facebook page. This goes to everybody. Family, friend, or otherwise. I have my problems with President Obama too. But I still respect the man. He is our president. And until you can prove otherwise, you will treat him with dignity and respect. All I'm asking is you treat people with dignity and respect. And I admit sometimes I cross the line. But I will never go calling someone a name. Especially something that derogatory. So no more chicken shit comments on my Facebook page, okay? Alright. And I tell you, I'm treading lightly here, because the next segment on my notes is someone that I don't like. I have never cared for. And that is televangelist Pat Robertson. To me, the guy is phony. And I've dug up some more things over the weekend that I found out about him, and he's even more of a fraud than I originally thought. It seems that the good Reverend Robertson has used millions in aid donations meant for Rwandan refugees to fund his own personal diamond mining venture in the Congo. It's according to a new documentary scheduled to debut Friday at the Toronto International Film Festival. The film, Mission Congo, is discussed in a report issued Thursday by Chris McGreal of The Guardian. Now, McGreal reports that the film depicts how the good Reverend diverted millions in charitable donations meant for his nonprofit Operation Blessing International to fund his own personal diamond mining operation in Africa. Well, after the Rwandan genocide in the early 1990s, Robertson called on his viewers to donate to Operation Blessing, which he said would help desperate refugees. Instead, pilots who worked for Operation Blessing were actually transporting mining equipment to a Robertson-backed diamond mining outfit hundreds of miles away in the Congo. The Guardian reports some of the most damaging criticism of Pat Robertson comes from former aid workers at Operation Blessing, who describe how mercy flights to save refugees were diverted hundreds of miles from the crisis to deliver equipment on a diamond mining concession run by the televangelist. One of the pilots kept notes on some of his trips. During a flight where Robertson was a passenger, one of those notes read, "Prayed for diamonds." So that actually happened on the early 1990s and is now coming to light. And I would like to see more of that documentary, so we'll see how that goes throughout time. Well, as I predicted on Friday's show, Fox News delivered. I'm glad they couldn't waste a moment to trash atheist. What I'm talking about is the Massachusetts Supreme Court last week announced that they were going to take up In God We Trust on money in the state, and we're going to bring it to the federal level. Well, Fox News chimed in on Friday, and here's a audio clip of what they said on their, what is that program called? The Five, I hate that show. The Five on the Pledge of Allegiance. This is what they said last Friday.
Earlier today, the Massachusetts Supreme Court heard a lawsuit about the Pledge of Allegiance in public schools. An atheist couple wants to remove the phrase "under God," claiming the words violate students' rights. Their attorney explains why.
We have a pledge where children every morning are pledging their national unity and loyalty in an indoctrinational format in a way that validates religious God belief as truly patriotic and actually invalidates atheism as second-class citizenry at best, downright unpatriotic at worst.
Well, what he neglects to say is that you don't have to say the pledge if you don't want to say the pledge. But Dana, what do you think about this argument?
I'm tired of them. I remember working at the Justice Department years ago when I first started, I think it was right after 9/11, and a lawsuit like this came through. And before the day had finished, the United States Senate and the House of Representatives had both passed resolutions saying that they were for keeping under God in the pledge. I think that our representatives have spoken over and over again, and that if these people really don't like it, they don't have to live here.
Yeah, that's a good point. But does anybody know whether this under God was added to the pledge, or was it part of it? It was?
It was added. It doesn't matter, though. In God We Trust is on our currency, so
right.
Are they saying that they want that removed? Or,
they do.
Or better yet, would the attorney choose not to take U.S. currency, which would be all right with me, too.
Well, Greg, you're not an atheist. We know that you go to church every day. Does this outrage you?
Well, it's a pledge. It's not a prayer. It's a patriotic exercise. In a sense, it's basically saying, thanks for giving us the freedom to be an atheist. This is one of the countries where you don't get killed if you don't adhere to whatever belief system they're forcing down your throat. Say in certain countries that we won't mention.
Plus, if you don't believe, then why do you care?
Yeah,
it's just like some guy's name.
But the thing is, though, you have to understand, atheism is not an extreme idea. It's called faith, religious faith, for a reason, because you have faith. The only way you can have faith is if there is no faith to compare it to. So I understand that they are the minority here, and they have to deal with these issues.
But why should they be catered to?
We're not
Why are they so special?
What about that?
I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm telling you that I find it offensive that a few people, these children are pawns from their parents' political statements and beliefs to try and enforce it on everybody else and inflict their belief system. It's incredibly selfish. It's small-minded, and I don't think the court should cater to them. There is no good reason to do so.
Yeah.
Makes you feel warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? Now, for the record, for those of you that don't know, for the two of you out there that don't know it, I am an atheist, and here's my feeling on it. First of all, if I had children, I would probably raise them to be atheists, or at least to be free thinkers, let them choose which path they want to go. My parents allowed me to decide. I grew up in a Christian family. I attended church regularly, periodically throughout my youth. But I've had ambivalent feelings about Christianity since I was in 3rd grade. Now, here's a brief history, and then I'll get back to this story. I started having strong doubts about God and about religion in general when I was in 3rd grade. At the time, my dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the summer of 1980. I was in 3rd grade, heading into 3rd grade that fall. My parents and I attended a local Christian church not too far from my hometown, and we spent a lot of time out there in my early years, in my formative years. As a matter of fact, I participated in a lot of the Christmas Eve plays, especially from about 1st grade up through at least 3rd grade, maybe 4th. Well, no, not 4th. But I do remember some of those early plays, participating in them, and going to Sunday school, and so forth. Well, around this time, the church began to change a lot of its philosophy. It had different ministers in there, had a different minister in there, had different people on the board of trustees, and so forth. And they were more fundamentalist and a very inflexible group of people, in that you were all going to hell regardless if you didn't believe, unless you were very staunch belief, a very hardcore fundamentalist mentality. My parents weren't of that mindset, and it bothered them. And it got worse when some of the members of that church said the reason why my dad had cancer was because of his sins. The sins of his past caused him to be sick in that present. That had a formidable effect on my mindset. Keep in mind, I'm not even 10 years old yet, and I already know this is BS. Yes, I was aware of some of the things that my dad did in his past at that point. I knew about his drinking. I knew he had smoked heavily since he was a teenager. But I also knew the man that he was, and that he had renounced most of that. Now, he had some troubles with substance abuse throughout the years, and finally by the late 1990s, he had overcome those difficulties. But even at that age, I knew that it was wrong to admonish a dying man for something that he did decades before he even met most of these people, before he knew any of them. So that trickled down to me. Now, I only heard bits and pieces of it, but in my mind, I got to thinking, what right do you have to judge his life when you probably got the same skeletons in your closet? And I heard stories about some of these other people. As a matter of fact, one of them dumped her husband, divorced him, shacked up with another fella right down the road from that very church, probably about a mile away, still within eye shot on a fall and winter's day. So where do you get off there? So that led a lasting impression upon me. As a result, my parents got tired of it. Partly they didn't have the physical strength, between jobs and raising a kid to worry about going to this church every Sunday, so they quit going. And largely for about 2 or 3 years, I didn't go to church, except on very rare occasions like Easter or Christmas with my grandparents or other relatives. And I remember growing up at various times when I was watching TV on Sunday mornings, I was actually envious of my Christian family and friends who were going to church, because I thought, I'm missing out on what's going on. I'm missing out on the stories. I'm missing out on the communionship, all that. But I never expressed that. But at the same time, I was also aware of, there are people out there that are using their faith, they're wearing their faith on their sleeves, and are using it to punish others that they find inferior. Well, a few years went by. I didn't even intend to tell this story, but I'm going to anyway. And as a result, over the years, I became more and more in conflict with that. My intellectual side said there is no God, but my spiritual side said there is one. I feel a presence. I feel something. I later determined that